Okay, so in the exercise I posted up there, I have some more creation exercises basically for the weekend. I wanted to start the first project, but I think I'll wait till next week to get a little bit more skill set better built with some of these polygons using the tools of that. So, because I'm sure it's going to come in handy whenever I let you loose on your project. And in the last discussion, I kind of went over and talked about some of the tools and everything, but in class we did a coffee cup basically. Tell me how we did the teapot, but we went about it a little different way. Some may think it's a little easier. Some may like the other way. I'm not really sure, but like you'll find out these methods here is going to be heavily relying on like combining geometry and basically pre-planning out your geometry. So whenever you do go to connect them, you know that things are going to work out for the best of you, and plus it helps you get better and better at like welding vertexes together and seeing um, making sure that two vertexes become one, and then the geometry actually runs together. So I'll just kind of walk through this creation here, and as you see, I press one. Everything's kind of very low res. This topology is real smooth on it. It somewhat matches my reference, which I'm not really worried about that. I just wanted to reference because, like I always say, you never really know till you start creating it how much you don't really know what an object looks like. So it's just easier to reference and to trace it, honestly. Um, I would start with this project. I put this picture up on the OneDrive so you can grab it, the JPEG, the coffee cup if you need to, but I'm not really picky on what kind of cup it is, just as long as you have a reference there. So this is actually a cylinder connected to a torus, and I'll just kind of walk through how I did this. So I have my poly modeling tools. I start out with just a plain cylinder here, kind of put it in the middle earth, the middle space, and I'm going to need some divisions, my height divisions at least. Go to my create, let's see, let's go 8. I think 8 is what I used. This may come out a little different than the one I had up there, but that's okay. And then I just start to basically scale it to get it to where I kind of need it to be somewhat. And I'm scaling in uniform. I'm using that middle yellow piece, middle yellow box to scale out. So then I go in my vertex mode and I start adjusting these vertexes how I need. I can kind of go ahead and push them down. Then I scale them in uniformly. Kind of get me a nice little shape too. And if you notice, I'm doing the uniform scaling. See, I didn't select that one. I need to select that because if you were to look at this from a perspective view, it's really hard to do this from a perspective view, but you can see how I'm doing it in uniform. So I'm not just doing one side, in other words, because that will really will throw you. So I'm just going to go back to my side mode and do this bottom one out, just kind of give it a better shape. And finally, I want to get right there. And I'm just going to keep it right there, a little bit off the bottom plane. I'm not really worried. Oh, actually, I'll push it down. Let me take these vertexes and push up. Even my topology out of here a little bit just because I want to. This one's a little uneven. I could add a division in there, just kind of push this down here. So I have a nice little shape to me right here. If you notice, if you smooth it over, you've got these bends and folds here, which you're not going to want, and I'll show you how to get rid of those. Because on the bottom you can kind of see it starting to bend. The first thing I do is I don't need these faces up here, so I'm just going to basically select and delete these. Now it's starting to look more and more like a cup. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to add I don't want to create divisions down here. I just want to like make a simple lip so it doesn't really bend over. It gives that creasing whenever I smooth it over. So I'm going to go to my edge tool, insert edge loop. I'm just going to create like a little resistance down there so it kind of gives it a nice smooth look. Now you could go in here, and since I don't have a top face, I'm going to go to edge mode, and I'm just going to selecting from the inside. Let me put it in edge mode first. So now I have all my bottom edges selected. You could, this is just a shortcut, shift and right click, connect components. And now ring selected, and I'm going to scale this out and kind of give it a division right there so it doesn't not get any kind of bend or fold on it there. Yeah, looks nice. So the next thing I need to do is talk about giving this thing thickness. You notice with a coffee cup we just kind of extruded in the ring and kind of pushed it down, but with this right here I want to give the whole thing basically thickness. So I'm going to go and I'm going to select face mode. I'm going to select all the faces. I'm going to go to my extrude tool. I'm going to extrude, and I'm going to middle mouse click on the thickness attribute, and I'm just going to slide it out a little bit to kind of give it, you can go really thick out with it, but you could either type the value in if you want to, but I'm just going 0.3. It looks good. If you smooth it over, you've got pretty nice little barrel shape you're kind of working on. So now I'm making a handle. You could, like I said, you could try different methods. From the surface, the curb way we did it, we created, the curb tool around, and then you just kind of extruded to a path. You could do it that way. You could go in here and you could start extruding these faces out and making your handle like that, and then just start pushing them down, extruding more and more. Or you could just kind of go the easy route and use kind of Maya's tools basically to help you go ahead and get there. This torus is half of the handle, so let's see if we can use this torus here. I'm going to get my shape initially looking like it, so I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Now I need to adjust the size here, and if you click over here on the for the divisions and everything, you can do the section radius. Let's do the radius first. I'm going to middle mouse click. I'm going to kind of just make it a little bigger. I have something. There we go. And your section radius, I want to make it bigger or smaller. I think that's going to be good right there. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. I'm going to basically delete half of this torus and then weld it into the side of the cup there. And then that'll give me a nice flow with the polygon with the cylinder. So let me go ahead and kind of scale this out a little bit. Kind of give me a little bit of thickness there. So, but if you notice, an easy way to think about this, if I am going to weld it in here now, say I'm going to, let me back my torus out some. Say if I'm going to connect it to, delete this face here, say I want to connect it to these vertexes right here, I'm only looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertexes. But if here I'm looking at all those vertexes around there, so a way of planning this out, I need to make these vertexes match what I'm welding to. So I'm going to go to my height, which is the amount, and now this should basically weld into those. But obviously I got to move the vertexes around some. So And I'm going to look at the side now. Select faces, and we'll select half my torus. I'm just going to delete it. So now, basically, what I'll be doing is just putting this, welding this device in here to some more faces down here. And you can scale this thing how you want to right now. You can basically go in here and you can adjust your vertexes how you want to. Kind of go ahead and get them like in how you know, basically if you wanted to make the curvature up the top there. I'm not really going to do that right now, but I'm going to go back in here to my perspective mode, and I'm going to delete these faces out here, down here. Now what I talked about with the transform constraint tool over here, you could go in and you could kind of edge slide and take these vertexes and kind of move them around to kind of shape basically how you want it, but I'm just going to target weld these in there, and they're going to like basically fit in there. But what I am going to do is going to move this one because that one's too far in there, so I'm going to come in here before move it out a little bit. So the next thing to do is I need to combine these objects together. Mesh combine. Now I have two objects that I can start welding things together. You could both select them, shift and right click, merge vertices to center. I don't want to do that just because I want this to create more of a distance right there with that one. So I'm going to target weld these things. My target weld tool, I'm going to take it off the edge. So this one to that one to this one. This one to that one. And always a good rule of thumb is just to go back and check if you're not sure, just to make sure that you don't have like overlapping vertexes. Everything's connected. What that is, I'm pushing it on the outside of this other one over here. So you don't want to do that. And I'll do the bottom down here. So this was my side. Oops. Why that happened because I have a vertex selected up there, which I don't want to. Right there. And now if you kind of look at it, you've got no creases or no folds. Basically, it's a nice smooth topology. Obviously you would add more divisions in there. But the most important thing, takeaway from this, is I've made clean quads from one object to another without adding a bunch of divisions and creating clean topology, in the fact that if I needed to select this now, and let's say if I wanted to scale this in, I could scale that one in, kind of make an artistic style. I could add in more insert edge loop. I could add in more divisions to the rim here and move them around if I needed to. If I wanted to add more divisions on the side, start looking a little bit more smoother, looking like it's welded together, in other words. And you don't really need to delete history on this because it never really was how we went to a teapot. It is all the same page. Probably the best thing to do, well, this is my other objects I have in there, is to run a good history delete on it. That way anything that will follow it, basically you can. And you can kind of take it from there. And you want to ring select this right here, or say you want to ring select your sides. And what I'm doing is I'm just like selecting one, hitting shift, or I'm selecting one, hitting shift and double clicking, selecting shift, double clicking, shift and double clicking. So I want to extrude that out. Got a cool little retro Jetsons cup. Everything's clean quads. Got a nice thickness to it. The inside, I'm not really worried about the inside, but you could go and you could create more divisions at the bottom here so it's not a crease looking. But so yeah, so that's the coffee cup. Like I said, for the assignment, try to knock out 3 objects, office objects, coffee cup, be a trash can that has some extruded sides that's got a combined handle to it. There's a bucket, maybe a bucket, however you want to do it. I'm not really picky on what the objects are. I just want you experimenting with combining objects together, then using these tools we kind of went over in class, on creating your creations, building up for our project one basically, which will be a a combination of creating objects in sort of a room state in which you can use these objects for the room. So I would suggest walk through the cup. You can use your cup as one of the objects and just either upload your file or your screenshots to Canvas so we can look at them in class and address them if you had any issues. So, okay, if any questions, just hit me up.